Hey there, it's Hillary, and today I'm going to be doing my July recap and my August TBR all in one. We're partway into August and I haven't had a chance to do my TBR and my recap because Booktubeathon was happening and I was posting all the videos for that and I couldn't keep up. So basically it's my fault, but that's fine. So it seems like so long ago since I read some of these books. But the first book that I completed for the month of July was Ruin and Rising. I completed this series and it was so long ago, but I really did enjoy this book. There were some things about it that I would have done differently if I got to pick how I wanted everything to turn out, but overall I really enjoyed the book. I gave it 5 stars, even though there were things that I would change. That was just personal preference of mine. It wasn't like anything that I think the author could have done better. So I think that's why I still chose to give the book 5 stars. The next thing that I read was a book that I checked out from the library, and that was Ash Princess. While I did find the idea for the story very interesting and I was like super hype about it before I got a chance to read it, I don't think that the author did as good of a job actually making the story as they did with like the synopsis and putting out all this hype. So I only gave this one 3 stars. I think that I still will read the next book in the series just because I am still curious about what's going on. But there's just a lot of things about the book that I really didn't care for. But like I said, I am very curious about where the story is going to go, and just because I didn't enjoy the first one as much doesn't mean that I won't enjoy the next one. I think sometimes when you get the first book in a series, the characters and the setting and all those things have to be explained so much that sometimes it takes away from the story. So I am looking forward to the next one, although I don't think that one will be out until next year. The next book that I read was We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was a super easy read. I will say with this book though, I don't know if it's that I've read so many thrillers and that I can pick out like different plot points, but I had predicted what was going to happen in this book like before halfway through. I had an idea and I like even wrote it down on paper because that was our book club book for the month of July. So I wrote down this is what I think is going to happen at the end, and I was right. Although after talking with all the people from book club, I was thinking it was just more me being perceptive to what was going on in the book, because they all were very surprised about what happened at the end while I was not. So maybe that's just a good job for me that I can take a good guess as to what's going to happen. I'm not sure, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was a really decent read and it was a good book for us to pick for book club. The next 2 books I read back to back, and that was The Dark Prophecy and The Burning Maze, the second and third books in the Trials of Apollo series. I gave them both 5 stars. I love Rick Riordan. I love everything that he has written that I have read so far, and I look forward to reading much more Rick Riordan in the future, but I am loving this series so far. I am just really sad that I have to wait so long for the next one. Most of his books, I haven't read them until the whole series is completed, and this one I'm actually reading it as they come out. So it's gonna be a while before I get to complete this series, since he should be having 2 more books coming out, one in 2019, one in 2020. It's really crazy to be thinking about. The next book that I read was actually our book club's pick for the month of August, and it was Bird Box by Josh Malerman. I think there's actually 2 books that have the title Bird Box. I think one is The Bird Box and the other one is Bird Box, but we read Bird Box by Josh Malerman. And I read this one super early because I checked it out from the library and I wanted to make sure that I started and finished the book before Booktubeathon. So I went ahead and read this one now, and even though I don't usually like to read our books for book club too far in advance, this one is still sticking with me. It was super creepy. was really strange. I gave it 4 stars, but it was just one of those really weird, creepy type stories, and it kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies especially after I completed it. I was just like, woo! But it was really interesting story. I can't imagine living the way the people did in that book. If you've read it, I think you know what I'm talking about. I don't know how common of a book this is. I've never heard anybody on BookTube talk about it. Someone in our book club had heard about it, and that was the only reason most of us knew about it. But it was a really interesting story. It's definitely kind of creepy if you're into more like the creepy, thrillery type books. This one is definitely one that I think you'll enjoy. It's a bit gruesome at points. I would definitely say it's a like Halloween-y, October type book. The next book that I read for the month of July, I finished the Magnus Chase series. I read Ship of the Dead. I gave this one 4 stars. I really didn't enjoy the Magnus Chase series as a whole as much as I did like the Percy Jackson and the Trials of Apollo. I'm not sure if it's because it's a whole different mythology, whereas Percy Jackson is Greek mythology and Magnus Chase is Norse mythology. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I don't know if it's just because I didn't find Magnus as interesting of a character as Percy. I'm really not sure. I did think the series was really solid. I like how it played out. I liked the way it ended. I think I gave all 3 books 4 stars, but I think the third one is probably my favorite out of all of them. I just think it was a really good series. I really did enjoy it. The next one that I completed was my last one before Booktubeathon started, and I read Carve the Mark. I actually gave Carve the Mark 4 stars. I really liked this book. I know a lot of people have a lot of issues with Carve the Mark. I feel like a lot of people have racism issues with Carve the Mark. They have self-harm issues with Carve the Mark, and they don't like the portrayal of one of the main characters dealing with pain. I didn't find any of those things to be an issue. I sort of just took the book at face value. I honestly don't really understand the racism issue because it seems like all of the families are multi-raced anyway. They're described throughout the book as some being light-skinned and some being dark-skinned, but they're in the same families. So I don't understand how that becomes a racism issue. If we're talking about because the 2 groups of people in this book don't like each other, I feel like that's not an uncommon thing to happen throughout history. So I don't really find where that's an issue either. I just read it as that's the idea for the story, and I really enjoyed it when I just took it at face value. I feel like I could talk about this book a lot because it has so much controversy behind it, but I also don't want to rant. Like I said, I just took the story as it was, and I really enjoyed it. The next books I read for Booktubeathon, and I already talked about them a little bit when I talked about my Booktubeathon wrap-up video, so I'm just going to mention them just to say that I completed them. So for Booktubeathon, I read 3 books in the 2 days that Booktubeathon was going on in July, and that was Beauty and the Beast, Limericks, Haikus, and Other Short Poems, and The Little Prince. Those were the 3 books that I read in July at the end of the month for Booktubeathon. So as a total for the month of July, I read 11 books. Now, when I get into my August TBR, honestly, it's a little bit different because of the things that I was going to read for Booktubeathon, which Booktubeathon is over, so I've obviously completed them already. But I was reading for Booktubeathon The Selection, The Magician's Nephew, The BFG, and The Elite. So I've already completed those 4 books for August, but they were on my August TBR. After reading The Selection and The Elite, I just became obsessed with the series, so I wanted to go ahead and finish it. So the 1 and The Heir and The Crown were also on my TBR, but I actually have already completed them. I'm actually doing really well for August. I've already completed 9 books for August, and we're only on the 11th, so my August recap is going to be very large. I'm hoping to read Flawed and Perfect this month. I am really in a mood to read dystopians this month. I'm just really feeling it, I think. I'm also going to read Station 11. I should be getting that from the library. And I should also be getting Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda and Everless from the library, so I'm planning on reading those. And then continuing with my trying to read the Narnia series, I'm planning on reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe at some point this month. So I think I'll end up reading more than what's on my TBR for this month. It's hard to say what I'm going to be reading because I've already read so much. By the time I do my recap for the month of August, I'll probably have read at least 12 books. So it happens. Like I said, 4 of them were for Booktubeathon. Thanks for joining me. Let me know down in the comments what you read in July or what you're hoping to read in August. I would love to see what you guys are reading and what you're in the mood for. I'm definitely in the mood for more of dystopian stuff myself. If you like this video, please feel free to leave me a like, and if you'd like to see more videos by me, please feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!